Good afternoon, LinkedIn Live community, and welcome to our webinar series on lean sales, lean agile sales, rather. I'm Charles Maddox. I have my co-facilitator here, Gerardo Osorio, and we're here to give you some good information on how to combine a lean agile approach to your sales team. And there's a lot of data out there that says you can even multiply it by a tenfold, in terms of revenues that you can actually achieve with these new methods. So why are we here today? We're here to address some of the challenges that we're having and facing with our sales teams. All right. So I think you'll get a good piece of information from this webinar. And again, there's going to be a series following this. So yeah, stay tuned and we'll definitely be glad to share more with you. All right, next slide, please. So myself, I'm Charles Maddox. I'm the founder of the I4 Group. We are a lean agile consulting firm. We've been doing training and consulting in this space for the last 10 years. Me personally, I have a lot of background in the technology field as a software developer and most recently into business agility and DevSecOps. We are definitely kind of on the cutting edge on how to apply lean and agile to various environments like sales and marketing, obviously, finance, quality assurance, and the like. And we've definitely have a lot of valuable information to share with you here. This particular topic is very close to heart about lean sales because my partner here, Gerardo Osorio, he approached me about a lean sales and marketing approach that we could take to our company. And me being a small business owner, and also in the lean agile ways of working, I was very attracted to this approach, and it was really helpful to be able to strategize and align our organization and our sales approach around a lean agile approach, which was always very familiar to me, and I grasped the concepts right away. So definitely think that anyone in the lean agile space as well as in the sales space could definitely take value from these conversations that we're going to have today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-facilitator, Gerardo. Gerardo, you can take it from here.
Hi, Charles. Thank you so much initially for the invitation. I'm so glad to be here with you, sharing, of course, some experience. Let me introduce myself to the audience. I'm currently the MA Services co-founder. This is a lean revenue transformation consulting firm. We're based in Mexico, but we do still have offices in Spain as well, and I can just give a lot of help to other customers all around the world globally, especially in USA and South America. And I'm in charge of the division of the Lean Agile sales consultancy. And today we're going to be sharing some of the experiences we have been having in all these 10 years, bringing all these lean agile principles to sales. I'm 3 years experience managing IT B2B sales and global expansion projects. My experience is not just in sales. I'm also been a business owner on different projects that got me to the point that I've been in the purchasing process. So one of the main experiences that I have is to understand exactly from a buyer perspective and how can we make more efficiency a purchasing process, of course, with the help of a consultative sales. So in this way, what I want to share with you is that being honest, I've never been, a high-class closer deal salesman. I'm always feel more attracted for the processes. My dad was an engineer, and I've been from, very close to software development processes. My first experiences doing sales was software development, products, and hardware, software. So I'm very familiar to this in Agile. And initially, when I started doing this, I was just felt so amazed on the way that product development was done. But before going further, I want to explain you that this is going to be one of the 3 sessions that we're going to be sharing with you in this Lean Agile sales. The first one is today, and we're going to share how to apply the principles that enable you and your sales teams go from traditional to a Lean Agile sales management. The second webinar is going to be, we're going to be focusing on lean pipelines and discovery techniques to reduce waste and accelerate conversion. We are dividing this into a lean sales approach and then to an agile sales approach. And in the third webinar, what we're gonna be sharing is how to manage your sales team with an agile framework to deliver critical value to customers, and we're making this a couple of difference. Of course, we're going to be explaining this in the following slides, but basically that's one. This is one of three webinars. Today, takeaways. Okay, the first one and the first thing that probably we need to understand is what is happening with our customers and with the markets in a post-COVID era. There are probably the challenges that our customers are having. Is related on how much we are understanding the perception of the value that they're needing right now. Then we're going to be jumping to the traditional sales approach versus the lean agile. I don't want to assume that everybody is an expert on lean agile. I know some of you have a lot of experience doing lean agile in IT and transformation processes. But I also understand that some of you is probably the first approach that you're having to this concept. So I don't want to assume that, and we're going to have like a brief explanation on that. Frameworks and roadmaps you can use to start doing it and where to start. This is going to be, the outcome probably is a roadmap to increase efficiency by reducing significant amount of waste in your sales process. Waste is going to be something that you're going to hear a lot in this webinar. So Charles, one of the first things that I want to have this conversation with you is like, since some long time ago, that large companies and small companies has been, investing a lot of money in their product development. Actually Lean Agile comes exactly on how to deliver not so, complicated products and to deliver just what the customers in the market needs. And in this way, we have seen there's a lot of frameworks, a lot of processes that enables all these internal product teams to think about how to validate and not assuming that the market wants specific products. So in this way, we have been working all in, probably in the last 5-10 years on how to deliver MVPs and all these concepts and everything. But then when we got to the point that we need to deliver these products and this value to our customers, then marketing and sales seems to be working still traditionally. So why are we doing and a lot of investing, where are we making a lot of investments on the innovation process if we are going to push all our products into the marketing and sales processes? So it should be sometimes funny, but it's a real thing, and it's happening in most of our companies, and most of our customers are dealing with this. Okay, how can I make this a leaner process, a lighter process, and not a complicated process, not just in sales, but also in marketing, And we are bringing a concept that I think some of us are dealing with, and it's like, are we really overstocking our sales teams with a lot of leads? Sometimes some of our customers are telling me, Gerardo, I don't know exactly what's happening in my sales team, but I just feel that they're so very busy and there's a chaos. And with this first topic, I just want to introduce the concept of why Lean is actually very focusing on not delivering and not overstocking any kind of processes, and try to deliver the fewer possible and more valuable things to our customers. So Charles, this is a prime concept,
Yeah, Gerardo, yeah, so I was going to make a comment and observation and something that I noticed when we were working together on this. My familiarity with the software process and how you apply Lean and Agile, and a few slides ago, how you showed the design thinking, the MVP cycle, and then the development cycle. One thing that was very key, I remember when we were working together, is that concept of validation with the customers that we're working with. That are we actually solving the right problems? Are we actually putting out the right product? And you need to iterate, you need to test and validate with your customers, just as you would in a software development process. So, and that's the whole concept of MVP. And I thought it was very impactful to to think about it that way is that, the customers don't always, you're not going to deliver exactly what they want all the time. And then you jump to this slide here, which is very impactful too. And then a lot of times we solve the problem by throwing more people at it. And that's not necessarily the way to go about it either. That's, to your point about waste, and are we actually doing the right thing by just adding more people to a faulty product or to a faulty offering to the market? So I just wanted to throw those tidbits in there because I thought it was really impactful when we worked together and talked about that.
Yes, I remember that when we were having our first conversation on how to apply these concepts to your sales process. One of the first things is that I remember I shared you how I started to realize how all these concepts of MVPs and minimum valuable products and the validation and not to assuming things with in the software development or the product development process was that amazed me. And I remember like 8-10 years ago when I was working with my brother who has a software development company. I was invited to him like to check his sale process. And you know something, when I started getting this first approach on how to understand the technical requirements of their clients, it was so amazing to see them use, user start mapping and all these innovation tools and everything, and just make it easier. One of the principal problems that we are facing in our sales teams is probably not just making a linear process to get to the closing process, to the closing phase. Is okay, if you're closing something and if you are bringing a complex solution, then you need to make it sustainable. Okay, why? Because one of the main problems right now is to avoid churn. And if we are stuffing our sales teams with a lot of leads because we think that as much as we can have as lead, we are going to get a lot of deals, probably that's going to be the problem, So I don't know if all of you that are listening to us and attending to this webinar feel familiar with this pipeline. I don't know, probably 80 or 90% of our customers bring us and call us, I don't know what is happening, Gerardo, Eduardo, Charles, but it's going so slow. I'm getting a lot of stock of leads, and I just don't get the way to organize myself and my sales teams to match it with our forecast. And some of the things that we're going to be talking, not just today, but in the next days, is how to unblock this concept of the pipelines and trying to understand how relevant is to validate in the first phases of your pipeline to unblock and really get a linear way of understanding how to progress in this way. But Charles, I just want to show you this because the other, I don't know, months ago I was reading, I was looking at Tamaski BC, that it's another guy that is working very hard on agile sales process and everything. And I was just so amazed at how he's playing it. Do you know that great sales organization close around 30-40% of their deals when they're successful? I mean, but this is amazing because we don't understand it on the other way. Basically working with 60-70% of process waste is successful in most of the companies. So waste is something that we are not really understanding and probably working into the sales process, because probably we think that it's more like an individual or it's more like a market way of doing things, or probably it has not to do with us, but to the products or anything. But we have a huge opportunity here to work. So it's like operating like a baseball odds, where a consistent 33% hit rate is absolutely world class. And so this information is relevant because from that point, I think we're going to be understanding. And if you're listening to us in the audience, please understand exactly how much is your hit rate now in sales. It's around like what, 15%, 20%, 30%. But even if it's like 30 or 40%, there's a lot of amount of waste. So in this other thing, okay, we need to understand how the customers are buying right now. And this is relevant because, in some of our experience, customers really don't want to deal anymore with the traditional salespeople. You know, they don't want to have, they don't want to waste, you know, time into demo meetings, into product feature meetings. You know, they just want to do their own scouting. They just want to make the comparisons. They distribute the buying process in different stages. But unless they are finding someone that really wants to understand their moments, their situations, and everything that is going on, they're going to have like the space and invest in some time in understanding that. I know that I'm talking more about the consultative way of selling. Yeah, that's correct. But we need to understand a lot more ways that we are, you know, pushing our sales team to do more things that just, you know, attending or getting in touch with our customers, you know. And this information is relevant because it's related to how much waste we are assuming that our customers should need, you know. So in terms of B2B sales challenges currently, and this is information that I'm not just showing you here because, you know, I'm assuming that this is what happened. This information is directly comes from customers and from sales managers and from VPs that are really concerned about what is going on. And there's like two different ways of understanding. The first one is with customers, you know, and one of the main concerns is the long B2B sales cycles conversion. Okay, or probably they're getting a lot of leads, but they're not really making progress on the closing. And this is a really huge concern for all the sales areas. The first one is the understanding one fixed and linear pipeline for all the leads. And this is one of very common problem, you know, just to bring in all the leads into one specific pipeline, probably not really building a pipeline with understanding how is the purchasing process of our market. This is one of the main problems. Approaching digital leads with traditional techniques. Charles, you don't know how many people this is still approaching with a pushy approach. This is amazing that is happening in these times, but you know, we are pushing our sales teams to do that, focusing on accelerating the leads and conversion, because there's a misunderstanding on probably doing it fast versus doing it agile. And this has got us to a lot of problems that we're dealing with him right now, Charles. What do you think about it? Like, this is something familiar for you?
Yeah, definitely. You know, one of the things that you mentioned from a lean sales approach versus a traditional sales approach, that lean sales is more of a pull versus a push. And when you said that, can you explain a little bit more what you mean by that, and what's the difference between pull and push for maybe those that aren't familiar with the lean, how lean emphasizes a pull method versus a push?
Yes, of course. This is a concept that has been used in lean methodologies for so long, but when you apply it to the sales process, it's as easy to understand that a push process is when the market or the lead or a prospect hasn't requested anything from us. So you avoid them, to approach them to them, but you don't have visibility on any of their problems, on any situation, because you think that you can actually convince them or to approach them to create the need. You know, creating needs, it's so 90s because you know, markets have the opportunity to look and make scouting on internet on whatever they feel they need it. But we are dealing with B2B customers. This is not B2C. B2C, you can, you know, get more emotional techniques and everything, but in B2B, the purchasing process is so different. And push is that concept. You know, you are trying to push your sales in someone that are really not really asking for anything. On the other side, you have the pull concept. That is how you can make strategies with marketing and with products, so you can actually make a lot of content and just go with the customers on the market that really needs and understand your unique value propositions, and they approach to you, not you approach to them. So in this concept, it's just not related to the techniques, but also on how we can manage our teams. I mean, you are an expert in Agile as well. And you probably use this concept in when you're approaching and onboarding all the IT and product development teams. how you can do it in a push and a pull. You know, it's like more a collaborative way of doing. Charles, this is basically the approach. You know?
Yeah. So and I think we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but I think it kind of revolves around your unique value proposition that allows your potential customers to be pulled towards you versus you pushing something onto them. So
yeah,
that's it kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the things that I'm like crossing a line here on the lack of validated leads, because when we're thinking about traditional sales, we think that the role of our sales team probably is going to be getting leads. No, that's that's so 90s. I mean, like, we need to make a strategy to bring the leads, because when you're getting into this traditional process, probably you're going to be spending 50 or 60% of the time of the sales team doing something that it's not really valuable for anyone. So in one hand, we have like the co-creation, the understanding the value. On the other side, Charles, we have the sales management. You know, traditional way, just reporting meetings, like all of us has been, you know, in the Monday sales meetings, you know, on the reporting process. How is this going, these leads, reviewing leads that are just staged in 3 months and not moving, measuring just financial KPIs and lead time exclusively, you know, resistant to transformation, and in a way of the sales leaders who are trying to help our sales teams. But if we are pushing them to just do the same thing with their customers, of course, they're not going to be focusing on understanding exactly how to unblock these things. So reporting and command control and all these traditional things that probably we're going to be exploring later on the Agile process is not helping the sales team to be more transparency. You know, that's one of the probably more common problems that we're having with our sales teams: transparency, not just with us, with the customer. When you are dealing with some traditional salespeople, you're always thinking, okay, just I don't know if I'm going to give this that much information, because probably he's going to take advantage of that and try to sell me something, instead of, is he really understanding my problems, my organization problems? You know, and probably this has to do with the mindset, not that we're going to be dealing with. And related to that, Charles, you know, I'm not going to stop that much here, because probably most of you have, if you come from sales, have been going through all these kind of methodologies all around. Inbound sales from like probably 5 or 7 years ago was some kind of methodology. I don't think it's a methodology. I think it's a more a strategic way of doing things. But why Lean Agile now here in these moments? Well, because the markets are moving faster. The markets are demanding a more accurate process, and they need help on making a buyer's decision. It's not something that that we just need to push in the market. And Lean Agile give us this structure. Lean in some way to help us to understand the value, and Agile how to manage all these things. But talking about the linear pipelines, the traditional linear pipelines, I remember Eduardo, one of my co-founders, showed me the other day this Gartner chart. And of course, it's related that, okay, you're talking about probably building a linear pipeline, Gerardo, and you know, but there's no linear pipelines in the B2B process. Why? Because the conditions of the market and the customer change like every day. And you know, another thing that we have been exploring, the buyer's decision is taking longer, Charles, because they're afraid to making decision on investments, and the churn rates are increasing as well. So this is one of the probably one specific data and metrics we need to understand. And before going further, I know you guys are just starting to get in touch with this probably methodology, and in some cases there are some first experiments. What do you think about all those challenges? Do you feel familiar with what Charles and I are sharing? It's not your case. Do you think you have another challenge that we're not going through this explanation? Please share your comments in the chat, please. I know a lot of people is watching this probably now, but a lot of people is going to be watching this later. Please send us an email and share with us all the comments. So getting to the point, Charles, Lean, Agile, design thinking, MVPs, you know, all this work that I've been bringing all these last years. and seems like so innovative, and seems like we're cool, and talking in the Starbucks and talking about like all these words and being cool with this, but is how realistic is lean and agile in sales. Before going to that point, and for some of you, I know that you're experts, that the ones that are you're listening, but some of you are not really familiar from these concepts. We divided lean and agile into different ways of understanding how to approach to the clients and internally. Lean, okay, the famous lean house, it's something that Toyota brings us from so many years ago, and how to put it, the understanding the value, how you don't assume the value of your customers. You need to validate how they perceive the value, and depending on that is the way that you're making all your strategy, so you don't overstock a lot of things. And when we're talking about overstocking, the process is, okay, you're sending a lot of information. You are asking for a lot of meetings to them that are valuable. You are having 3 or 4 to probably make a request on the technical information. There's a lot of things that customers do not have enough time. We live in a complicated moments when nobody has time. So we need to understand what is the waste, not just for us, but for our customers. On the other hand, when you're starting learning how to validate that value, then you need to manage that value. And that is where the Agile manifestos help us to understand how to manage the discovered value by collaborative revenue teams. And I'm talking about revenue teams because it's just not about sales. Some of the problems or some of the challenges we're having here is that probably we're not understanding what is marketing doing, or product doing, or delivery, or the delivery areas doing. So we can deliver this value as quick as possible, And for the people that are experiencing, yes, Charles, go on.
I was going to say, I just want one point on that. To me, anyways, lean agile is a way of working. No matter what type of work that you're doing, it's a way of working that, to your point, you pointed out, eliminates waste and accelerates value. So obviously, our sales activities, our sales work that we do is highly valuable to us. So, what better methods to apply to our sales activities than apply a lean agile way? And one thing, also, I just want to make a point about the lean agile way, again, why it resonated with me when we were talking, is that adaptability to fast changing markets, and things change very frequently. Lean agile is a way that manages that variability, that uncertainty, that cyclical nature of how things just keep coming at you in a different way. What better methods, what better way of working than a lean agile way to manage that type of work environment? So it's obviously a great fit to apply lean agile methods to sales. So
yeah, of course. And probably in the third webinar, we're going to talk about the work in progress and how to build our WIP, and some of the techniques that we can do it with our account planning and everything, a little bit more techie in this way. But you're right. It's like how we can work together. Usually the sales teams are not very collaborative, your metric is you need to close the deals, and I'm gonna give you a commission and bonus plan, and you're going solo and get your way, and that's it. So having a systemic and a complex understanding on how works are going right now with our customers and within our organizations, it just requires a lot of mind changing, a mindset changing. So I'm showing this slide because probably if you're familiar with the ones that are familiar to the lean agile in IT or product development, probably going to be familiar with that. And in other webinars, some of the people has asking me, okay, so what is the difference? Because I don't really have clear how you actually have brought up these lean agile concepts from software development to sales. and this can be a kind of a guide so you can understand, because inaccurate forecast, this is something that we have all done, wishful thinking about what are we want to attain, release dates and sales forecast not meeting, everything consistently missed commitments, and not just with our sales team, but also with our customers. The way that we are understanding how to approach to them is not just to deliver, is to co-create things. Failure to provide what the customer wants. We assume a lot of things. We're going to show later some of the frameworks that we're using to reduce assumptions that comes basically from similar techniques that are using in the software development process and the product validation process. But of course, another way is to understand is, okay, how much are we creating waste? We have been talking about that. Opaque processes isn't really clear, and we don't have visibility. And typical level of CEO understanding about how the process works. I don't want to get so much into the leadership role right now, but probably if you're thinking, okay, my customers or my organization is really ready to approach to this lean agile sales process right now, it has to do with the mindset of the organization. Are they really ready to do that? C-levels, VPs and everything need to understand exactly how we can actually make conditions to our customers. So the new role of sales teams with customers, you can read here, like a lot of things that we are sharing with our customers is that systemic problem solution approach. Everything related with you, Charles, have already mentioned. We need to leverage our consultative selling and probably not accelerate that process, because probably if we are not having a understanding and we don't drive any kind of understanding on the specific co-creation tools, we're going to have problems. One of the benefits of this in the digital world after COVID-19 is that we can use tools like Mural, like Miro, to co-create understanding and probably have a big picture if it's going to be validated the problems of our customers, or if we need to continue following up someone that is not ready to make a commitment, And within our companies, the new role is a product validation understanding process, getting closer to marketing and to the product validation and to the product guys, sales and marketing strategies co-creation, defeating silo mindset within revenue areas, agile frameworks, avoiding CRM to control. There's a lot of things that you actually can do with the new understandings of the roles. The roles, as you understand, Charles, is mainly focused on collaboration, and this, the Kubler-Ross curve, for how painful is the transformation process. Charles, I know you have been living this in your own, not just with your organization, but also with your customers, the denial. And I remember one customer asked me, okay, I just feel a little bit of resistance of my sales teams to approach into this new perspective on the customers. And my question was, okay, well, like, how are you motivating them to make this happen? And the first answer was like, well, they have a very huge commissions and bonus, it's just a solo driving. Of course, there are going to be resistance. If you got someone that is very good closing, and he has been doing the right things for the last 10 years, why does he needs to change? This is something that is very common in the sales areas. And the resistance has to do with, okay, I'm doing my own process, it benefits myself, but they're not thinking really if it benefits, the areas, the customers and everything. They just want, very focused on the commission and bonus. So when you're starting this process, we need to be very careful on the conditions that the rest of the organization are holding and supporting all sales areas to help them to co-create and not pushing away. So it's very hard to get to that point, but in my experience, leaders have a crucial role in this transformation and transition from traditional to lean thinking in sales. I remember when I read this from this book, Lean Selling, from Robert J. Pryor. I just liked so much the way that Robert is approaching to this, because it just get us in a way to understand exactly the difference from the traditional to the lean belief. Is that more is better? It sounds like no, less is better. Yeah, but if you are bringing a lot of information to your customers, you are not helping them. Information, I still get presentations of PowerPoints or PDF or 40 slides, Charles. that's a lot of waste of time, because I'm not going to read it. I'm not even see videos that send me. People don't have time right now. And this is the third way. Sell just talk time. No, it doesn't really take time. Just need time to understand. Qualifying, if you are making the right qualifying approach, the mindset of win-win, the interaction is going to be more ongoing, easy for them, and unblocking the timing of their people that are wasting, relationship, more consultative, collaborative, and the driver. We have already talked about this. So too many sales books outside talking about techniques, but none of them teach you a clear methodology and how to implement it to solve it in the real world problems. And neither if you read a book of Lean Agile, you need to explore this. You need to adapt this to your situations. You need to understand, you need to walk the path. And I don't know if you want to share some of your experience into the transformation process, Charles, but I don't think it's that different in the sales, because we're people dealing with transformation process. So in this way, we need to understand that you need to approach this methodology by sprints, even in your own transformation process. How is your transformation process right now? This is something that we're going to be talking with these frameworks. And I want to show you something that you have already been going through, Charles. I remember the last year when we were in the first conversation exploring your pipeline. You, of course, were explaining to me how all the stages of your process were. And when I started talking about like, okay, but where is your bottleneck? And probably you responded, like something very similar to most of our customers. It's like, it just get to the points that I just don't think that I'm moving faster, but I have a lot of customers in the proposal stage and negotiation, but then I just don't know what happens, because I just lack of visibility. I don't know what's going on. I don't know their buying decisions. And probably we started working with you, Charles, on, okay, why don't we start slowing down and probably make an approach, a slower approach and a leaner approach in the first phases, to understand that the assets is the closing, and
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. One thing that I want to comment on that is that the lean mindset versus the traditional mindset slide that you just showed previously. There's a value to be had or gotten at every step. That's kind of one, I think, major difference from the lean perspective, that we're getting value out of each step. And it can't be any more clearer than that last piece, that last bullet that you had at the bottom, that the buyer receives value at every step in the process. So that actually, that's actually very impactful, because when you apply a lean sales approach from the approach of our sales team, we should be getting value from each step as well, because it's a win-win, right? That's one of the other lean mindset ideas, that it's win-win. And so we should be measuring and showing that we are getting better or learning more out of each step as well. And I think that's one of the things that you really emphasized throughout the process, is that we measure. It's a continuous learning approach to our sales process. It's very iterative in terms of how we're learning to be more effective each cycle, each sprint, or each step as we go through the pipeline phase. And I think that's one of the key things. It just doesn't end. Traditionally sales, like you said, proposal phase done, but in a lean approach, we're constantly measuring and trying to get better at every step. So I just wanted to emphasize those points.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you are expressing this, because the traditional concept of sales is that we hire someone, or we are having our sales team just to understand the process by itself, and it just ends, and when it ends, we assume that it ends when the customer signs, the proposal and everything, and probably that's it. And then the sales team just concentrate again in the first stages of the process with the new leads. And that's a mistake. You know what? It's a mistake because the sales currently doesn't end when the customer sign the contract. It ends when they solve their problems. And this kind of mindset, it's going to help us to understand that we need to be more collaborative with other areas of our organizations, because we need to leverage our sales team to understand that it's just not a sales process, it's a business process. And in terms to making this a good approach, we have also understood that in the product development process of understanding and co-creating and validation process with the market, it has been building a lot of tools that has helped those product development teams. And I remember this conversation that I had with Ash Maurya like 3 years ago, when I was certified in this, continuous innovation methodology. And he was showing us the lean, the lean canvas model. And I was amazed on how like you can reduce your exceptions. And probably this is something new that actually, I don't know if you have shown it already to you, Charles, but we have got to the point that we have created a lean sales canvas so we can give the tool to our salespeople to reduce assumptions in each step. And it doesn't really end. And every time that you're approaching to your customer, you need to validate if the same situation has changed, or it has new moments, new problems, new challenges, because that's the way to avoid churn. It's not just about solving problems. It's to be sustainable and to keep your customers very close to your organization and understanding the value. So there's a lot of things that we actually can learn from Lean in the past, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, an Agile manifesto that help us to understand how to deliver this value. But everything that you're mentioning is really cool. We're gonna go deeper in this linear pipeline in the next webinar, but I just want to show you that there's some frameworks also for Agile, in bringing some of the things that probably are doing there's a lot of frameworks, there's a lot of things that we have been learning from other areas, but especially, scaling Agile and other kind of things that you're experts well, Charles. How can we make the onboardings as easy as possible? Of course, we need make an assessment and understand where is the maturity level, not just from our sales teams, but also from our organizations. Trying to understand exactly where are the bottlenecks on our pipelines to co-create with our own sales teams, make them understand that it's just not a process they need to follow, but to improve the process. Okay, and then of course working into all the Agile ceremonies and everything, selection criteria, policies and procedures, of course training, kickoff of the cadences, of course leaders need to understand exactly how to make these ceremonies lighter. And why? Because we need to empower our team to be transparent. Transparency, one of the key things, not just to understand that we need to avoid doing, this focusing on just on financial KPIs. When you were talking before about like how we can measure our improvement, it's probably because we are not understanding that there's another KPIs we need to take in account, management KPIs, not just financial KPIs. We are really understanding the problems of our customers in the phase stages. We are really validating their problems. Are the amount of problems of our customers are very similar to our products are solving? How many validation processes are we going? This affects directly to our lead time. So in terms of this, of course, a first goal is of course an element to enable the team and then to start working in making progress in our pipelines, But this is just the first approach. I'm going to be explaining this in the third webinar exactly on how to make it so you can have more tools, but how like shifting to creating a lean environment on a daily basis. We consider, like, as our experience, there's like 3 specific roles, executives, camps, like the people that are or BDRs that are approaching, making the first approaches. In other methodologies, they call it hunters or farmers and, all these kind of things. But the real deal is that the key account managers are in charge of the process and the closer contact to to our customers. So in Lean, we need to focus on enabling them to understand deep discovery process to avoid following up accounts that are not ready. One of the common things that happens is that we waste a lot of time following up accounts that are not ready because we believe that we can convince all of our customers, and that's not true. Not all the companies can be our customers. And as long as we understand this, we're going to be a lighter sales process, you know, and into the Agile point of view, managing jobs to be done with a collaborative prioritization meeting. And one of the things that managers are really eager to have with their sales team is, okay, how can I make my team understand and to let them have liberty to create their own criteria to make advances and progress? Because, you know, when we have experience on sales, when we are seeing that one of our junior KMs and are not making progress, we want to help them, and we are, you know, eager to go to that account and to solve that problem because we don't trust on the criteria. If we don't manage to understand how to set criteria from our sales teams, we're going to keep doing the same things. Okay, sales managers also need to understand how to make data-driven strategies to support sales teams on efficiency, and of course prioritizing collaborative management KPIs instead of closing reporting meetings. You know, and in the sales VPs and, you know, C-levels and everything, let's create conditions. I don't want to get so deep in this. It's just create conditions. Help your sales teams to make this process as painful as possible. Mindset is the key to success. Charles, you know that you have been working a lot of time with in your own company, not just for your sales process, but in your consultancy process to your customers. How important is for you, Charles, the mindset? I just want to share some of your experience in this way.
Yeah, I mean, so the mindset is everything, obviously, because it's based on your value system and principles that you work by. And, you know, we're shifting to, you know, in a traditional sense, we're shifting to thinking. You showed a slide previously about the, you know, traditional way of thinking about work towards a lean agile way of thinking about work. And that just doesn't happen overnight, right? As you said, you have to start experiencing working in a lean environment and an agile environment. And then you can actually see firsthand how the difference in work and the difference in mindset that you bring to work comes to light. So as you pointed out here, respect for people and customers, you know, that's obviously big. Flow, that's something that might not be familiar with people, but the flow of work, that's very important. Being able to innovate, continuously improve. So these foundational principles, and then leadership involvement, obviously in the process, going to see and getting their hands dirty and being involved with the team in a very collaborative way. That's another principle around lean. But this way of working is different than the traditional way of working. What's funny though is that sometimes, you know, as you know, and you've probably seen it with some clients that you've worked with, that there's traditional sales processes that probably, or they call them traditional anyway, that are probably somewhat successful. But the thing is, you probably look deep, take a little level deeper look, and they're probably implementing some of these lean principles and ways of working unknowingly, not calling it lean, but it's just because it's best practices that have been evolved over time. So the mindset, you know, if you have an organization that's continuously learning, they're probably going to evolve or gravitate towards this way of working over time anyway. But yeah, it's really, you know, the mindset is everything. You know, as the mind goes, the body follows, and the body in this case is the organization.
Yeah, that's right. And now that you're mentioning, probably we forgot to say this, but the you know, the title of this webinar was like how to increase by 10 your sales. And this concept of increases by 10 is more about like the benefits, the revenue that you're getting, because probably you don't need more sales. You need to be more efficient. And the only way that we have found it, that in a world that it's have a lot of competitors, and a world that the customers don't have time to really understand and to have meetings with a lot of salespeople, we need to understand that it's not about amounts, it's about efficiency. And to professionalize our sales teams is probably one of the main requests that we are having in our customers or from our of our partners in all around the world. How can I make more efficient? I don't want to be continuing. And you're saying something very relevant. Probably some of the customers are already doing some lean processes, but you know, as we are approaching to a more business agility way of thinking for the whole organization, I think the benefits are going to be more real. And that's one of the things that we need to consider if we are thinking about implementing Lean Agile, that it's all about mindset. It's all about principles. It's not about process, because we are just showing just an example of a process, but it's not about that. It's about mindset. It's about like how you are transforming the way of solving your problems. So pull mindset, data-driven strategies, understanding people resistant as an opportunity to accelerate how they deliver value. And of course, how ready is your organization to support sales transformation? You know, benefits that I myself, and I think yourself, Charles, have going through. I don't want to talk about my other customers, but after going through this process, of course, sales process effectiveness increasing between 60 to 80% of conversions. Not just conversions, also to understand where not to be stuck following up leads that are not ready. Most of the energy and waste of time of our salespeople is due to following up something that it's not, you know, reliable or has enough conditions to go forward. So it's not always about closing. It's about how efficient effectiveness you have. Less waste on sales activities that they don't deliver value from anyone. That's something that I mentioned. And leverage sales activity to a customer centricity strategy. It's not just enough to have a consultative selling way. It's like that, but that's related to techniques. And of course, there could be a huge opportunity to make a digital consultative selling, but it's also how we align, okay, to how we align to our organizations and to our OKRs strategies, because that's one of the other requests that I'm having, Charles. Okay, you know, it seems like my OKRs are perfect, you know, but then when you get to the practice and you don't consider your sales teams, probably it's not matching you. Drastically reduce churn of clients. You know, that's, for me, it's probably one of the most relevant. And managing sales team with transparency, self-motivated, and accurate metrics. So in this way, Charles, this is just an introduction. We're going to be continue talking about this, but I know some of the people that are watching this webinar probably have a lot of questions and probably have a lot of comments. And I wanted just to give an open Q&A opportunity so you can actually ask a lot of things that you are having, or comments that you're having in your mind. In this way, Charles, do you have any comments about this, and how can we reinforce all the energy to try and to explore these new methodologies?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, while we're waiting for any comments to come on over, or questions, Gerardo, what do you think is the easiest way to, kind of what's the starting point that an organization would go through if they want to, experiment with this approach? Like, if, what does that starting point look like to start thinking about a lean sales approach for their group? Kind of what does that engagement look like? How would they get started? And, what do you need to go through to get started with that?
Well, it depends on the role of your organization, and I would like to explain in three different roles. And of course, if your organization that are more familiar with the Lean Agile process in your IT or product development, it's going to be easier, because one of the successful experiences that we are having is that our organizations that are more familiar with these concepts are when it's in the C-level. C-level understand, and the business understand Lean and Agile concepts. You need to be supported by the leaders in this way. They need to understand. If you're a leader, my first suggestion is please read something about Lean and Agile principles. Understand exactly how they work, and please apply it first to your management. not to your teams. That's my first suggestion. One of the things that I've been learning implementing this is when someone is really convinced about how to implement it, they want to bring all these concepts to their teams instead of learning them and practicing as a leader. So if you want to start doing the things, you as a leader need to do this by yourself. Okay, we call it don't like just you that cannot sell what you don't eat. Okay, and probably this is something that has happened to you. That would be the first recommendation. Charles, what do you think about it?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because every lean as a way of working, always at the foundation is leadership. So if leadership does not get it and support the method, then yeah, it's you're probably not going to succeed in implementing a lean approach throughout your organization. So I'm glad you called that out right off the bat, that having leadership and management first understand lean principles and get it, and then understand how to apply it would be definitely the first step. Another question kind of on this note, what has been your experience in terms of applying a lean sales approach to an organization? And if I'm a sales leader, I might say, what, this might be too disruptive. How would it impact our current sales pipelines and how we're currently working? What might you say about that they think this is a good idea, but they're worried about the disruption of how their current sales teams are working, and how would they add this approach or adopt this approach in the midst of the current sales processes that are going on?
Yeah, sure. Well, it also depends on the challenges that you're having. I'm going to give a couple of examples of this. We have these customers, probably 80% of our customers, they're having a complicated times to close deals. So they don't think about Lean Agile as a solution. Okay, we need to name the things as a traditional way of solving. Okay, you don't approach to Lean Agile as a solution for something that probably you are not really understanding the root cause of the problem. So when companies are having a complicated times to make it a linear pipeline or to really going faster with their closing, probably they approach to us, and one of the first things that we do is just to understand exactly how much waste they are doing into their pipeline. As easy as that. We don't complicate things. Okay, and from that point we understand bottlenecks and we just made some adjustments, very few adjustments, to improve the quality and to explore. Remember, experiments, as you know, in continuous innovation and all this validation process of the products and Agile as well as the sprints, is the main things when we need to understand how to start with minimum things. So after that, of course, what I suggest is just to make a easy onboarding to understand if this is going to be a benefit on a management side or into a technique side, onto a value that we want to bring from our customers. I wouldn't suggest to push these methodologies to companies that are not really supported by leaders that really understand that the market is demanding things. Another key success factor, Charles, when a leader wants to implement this and they feel resistance, is my suggestion is interview the 5 most important customers that you have right now and openly ask them, how can I improve the services or the products that I'm bringing? How can I improve my customer success area? And you're going to get a lot of information. And when you get data from your customer, it's not the leader that is pushing the changing, it's the market that is pushing the transformation. I don't know if that responds to your question. Of course, I can be telling you a lot of experiences, but in other way, that if companies that are growing really fast, most of them call us because, my sales management is a chaos. In that way, we can help them in more into an agile process. But I don't know if I respond to your question.
Man, that was great. Yeah, that was excellent. And we're right at our hour of completing the webinar. So Gerardo, you go to the next slide here. If there's any questions or comments that you want further information on lean sales, please contact myself or Gerardo, and we can definitely give you some additional information on that. There's training courses that go along with this approach, as Gerardo said, that giving leaders an overview on these methods before you start the process is probably the best approach. So yeah, definitely we would love to field any questions or comments that you have on this. We'll also too send out a recording of this session, so that those that weren't able to attend, you could give this to your colleagues or your managers or leaders so that they can hear it as well. And we will send out information on our next series. So this is the first of a 3-part series, and we're going to continue on through the process so you get the full information on kind of how to roll out this approach in your organization. So with that said, thank you, Gerardo, so much for your vast knowledge on this topic. And we definitely appreciate you so much for joining us here. And for those in the LinkedIn community, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.